After a pleasant evening camping at Allendale Lake, I plot a course for the Devonian Reef Conservation Park to explore Tunnel Creek, which is hopefully not overrun with Winnebagos and Brits hired troopies. The next night I spend at the RAAF Boab Quarry campsite. I have no idea why the RAF would quarry Boab trees. I then move on to Larrawa station before making my way to Wolfe Creek crater and finally exploring the northern end of the Canning Stock route. Good morning and welcome to episode 11. I'm on my way into Tunnel Creek, going through the Devonian Reef National Park. The ridges behind me are actually an ancient coral reef from underneath the sea that once covered this area. They go 2 kilometres deep and cover an extensive area about the size of our current Great Barrier Reef. So quite an impressive drive, and looking forward to the day. Some entertainment for the tourist bus. I left my camp at Allenbank just as the sun came up, with the idea of getting to Tunnel Creek before it was inundated with tourists. This plan basically worked because by the time I did reach Tunnel Creek, there was only a couple of cars in the car park, although the tourist bus that stopped to watch me drive through the water crossing arrived soon after. It was a bit of a scramble to get into Tunnel Creek over some large boulders, but quite spectacular and very dark once you get in there. It's about a 750 metre walk from end to end, and then you have to turn around and come back because you've gone underneath the ranges. So really worthwhile doing, although by the time I did get out, the car park was absolutely chockers and crowds of people were coming in. So I think by that time you didn't need a torch, there was already about 800 in there. So really worthwhile place. I think this Indigenous artist was a fan of The Simpsons. After Tunnel Creek, I made my way to tonight's campsite, the RAAF Boab Quarry, which closed down quite some time ago. It's still in the Devonian Reef Conservation Reserve, and I arrived quite early and did some photography, sent the drone up, and it is a very, very spectacular place. When I arrived, I had the place mostly to myself, but as the afternoon wears on, the BWCs are arriving in force. But I've picked a campsite as far away from everyone else as I possibly can, so hopefully I'll have some privacy tonight and enjoy the sunset before I make my way in the morning further down the Great Northern Highway, and I'll be visiting Wolfe Creek and the Canning Stock Route. Good morning. I'm in the Gekie Gorge Conservation Reserve. This morning I left the RAAF Boab Quarry, which incidentally the RAAF used the quarry to build the Curtin Air Force Base, and once that was done the quarry was closed down. So it was a nice drive in. I stopped at Fitzroy Crossing for fuel and a bit of brekkie, and I'm going to spend most of this morning exploring Gekie Gorge. It's still part of the Devonian Reef, and looking forward to it. So some more pictures to come. This sea eagle had been harassing a poor old turtle on the beach, and it looked like he'd done a fair amount of damage from the condition, the way the turtle was moving. I'm at Larrawa station, about halfway between Fitzroy Crossing and Halls Creek. It's where I'm going to spend the night before making my way into Wolfe Creek. So it's a very pleasant afternoon, and be nice to have a hot shower and something good to eat. I've finally made my way into Wolfe Creek Conservation Park, and the road certainly lived up to its reputation. It's absolutely terrible. So I've got half the afternoon left, so I'll try and get some pictures and perhaps send the drone up for a decent look at the place. It's an interesting sight, to say the least. I'm standing on the rim of the Wolfe Creek meteor crater. About 300,000 years ago, about a 50,000 tonne iron meteorite met the Earth here, and the bang would have been pretty impressive.
The crater behind me, it's only about 20 metres deeper than the surrounding land, but that's because over 300,000 years it's filled up with dust. The original crater would have been about 120 metres deeper than it is now. So quite an amazing sight, and let's just hope the next one of these that comes down in an area like this and not in any populated centre, because the results would be disastrous. While 50,000 tonnes seems a lot, it's actually not a very big meteorite. So it's the second largest one in the world where fragments of the meteor have been found. The biggest one's Meteor Crater in Arizona. But the meteor basically vaporised on impact, although little bits of it have been found up to 4 kilometres away. And lying around there are bits of iron, little balls, that are some of the tiny fragments that is all that remain.
The dusty campground that seems the main attraction at Wolfe Creek.
About 400 metres outside the crater here is the camping ground. There were quite a number of visitors here during the day. It looks like they were just day trippers in from Halls Creek. But there's about half a dozen caravans that look like they've persisted and are going to stay tonight. So it's a 120, 130k drive in. To be true, along the Tanami Road it's actually not that bad, but the 25k's into here is absolutely horrendous. And again, what always amazes me, these people have braved that, attempted that, but as yet not one of them has actually come up to have a look at the crater. And I think that's just the way it works. They'll tick it off the list and say they've been to Wolfe Creek, but none of them have actually seen it. Anyway, each to their own, and I've seen it and it's worth seeing. I'm on the Canning stock route in the Tanami Desert, Western Australia. Alfred Canning surveyed the route in 1906, and it was to move cattle from the Kimberleys down to the Kalgoorlie goldfields. The remote route was chosen to try and bypass the cattle tick prone areas. Over the next 2 years he built 51 wells, about 1 day apart along the route. But on the first drive, 3 of the cattlemen were killed by Aboriginals not too keen on these guys coming through their lands, and that started a series of attacks and reprisals that lasted quite a few years, and obviously made the route relatively unattractive to the cattlemen. So only about 8 mobs were ever driven down here in the till about the 1930s, and many of the wells had fallen into disrepair or had been wrecked by the Aboriginals. I think in World War II they attempted to repair some and resurrect it, but by that time the cattlemen weren't too keen on it, and they were shipping the cattle, and eventually of course road trains took over. So it was never a road, it was never meant for vehicles, it was a cattle track, and it's only used by now by four-wheel drivers liking to drive 2,000 kilometres over one of the worst tracks in the country. So it's absolutely glorious desert scenery here, and there are no caravans. I'm not going to go too far down the track, it's just to experience the desert views. It's pretty hard to take pictures of the desert from the ground, so I'll send the drone up so we get a bit of an idea of actually where I am.
This rogue camel terrorises visitors to Billaloona Aboriginal community.
Leave the car alone. No. Go away, piss off. No, thank you. Thank you very much. Get your snoz out of my car, please. Thank you. Don't eat the roof rack either. We're out of here. Goodbye, camel. Nice to meet you. But you need to piss off. Thank you, camel. Goodbye, camel. See you, camel.